Kellen Bryce, Yuri Marta, Joseph Willows, Florin Volker, Will Nella, Evan Byrne, which keeper, Niklas Gal, and of course Armar Carr. Will anybody else join him on the list of Monaco GP winners? Or will we have another double winner? There's 3 drivers who could do that. Hello everybody and welcome to the practice session ahead of the Monaco Grand Prix, the first crown jewel race of 2019. First of 3 hopefully if Le Mans works at the end of the season. I'm JW97 and I'm joined just like I think in Spain last week by Rahul Patel. How are you doing?
Hello, I am good.
I think you were there last week, weren't you?
Yeah, I was.
I had to think there. I had to think there if you were. But anyway, we are here at the Jewel of the Crown, the Circuit de Monaco. No rain for practice, so that's that really. And obviously Monaco is probably going to be the most exciting qualifying session of the season. And hopefully it should be a cracker in qualifying. Maybe not so for the race unless we get plenty of crashes. But who knows? So I think without further ado, we can get into the practice session. Now, whilst we wait for the loading screen to come up, of course, as Yuri is just on that now. Obviously, there are 2 test drivers who are in today as well. We obviously have Rivki Fakhrizin, who will be in the Mercedes today in place of Armar Carr. This was, of course, his book session. But we also, in the Red Bull, have Rahul Patel. Ironically, he's in the commentary box with me as well. Bit of I don't know if he did that on purpose or what, but there we are. But he's in the car. But he's in the car in place of Franco Garma. This one was a requested one, not a booked session. So you'll see 2 test drivers on the track today. So here we are at the Circuit de Monaco, of course. It is the 1993 version of Monaco, before anybody asks, because, of course, the modern version of Monaco doesn't exactly work with the pit entrance. Let's just put it that way. But, of course, I am aware there is an up-to-date Monaco being made in the future as well, from memory. So we could expect that in the future. But the first car on track, ironically, is actually Rahul Patel in the Red Bull. Of course, using the British flag, because I am aware that in GP2 he does use the Indian flag for Asian races, but we are in Europe, of course, so it gives him the reason to use the British flag for this one. But he's out on track, of course, as mentioned, he's not the only test driver on track. So what are you hoping from this practice session, Rahul?
Expecting some clean laps, more or less, because, traffic is going to be a big problem in Monaco, even when you're starting a lap. So, yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Of course, as mentioned, he's not the only test driver. We'll also be expecting Rivki Fakhrizin out on the track, who is the Mercedes test driver in place of Armar Carr. Of course, how the test drivers work in terms of who they replace. Well, in the terms of the requested drivers, of course, they usually just ask a certain driver that they can take part in a session. But in terms of the book sessions, that usually gets determined by the driver who is lowest out of the 2 teammates. So in the case of Mercedes, of course, Armar Carr is the lowest out of the 2 teammates. He's 6th in the championship, whereas Franco Lopez is, of course, leading the Drivers' Championship. So that's why Rivki is in Armar's car for today, and that system will also be in place for all the other test drivers for the remainder of the season. As Rahul Patel gets underway with the first lap of the day, and he's also got, I think, Jay McKenzie behind him as well. Luckily, McKenzie doesn't look like he's going to get held up by Rahul, but obviously Patel will be the first to put a time on the board. Of course, for this week, for the second week in a row, we are using the medium tyres, the yellow medium tyres. So it will be very interesting to see what sort of strategies we'll see in there. I think we're going to see a mix of strategies with the medium tyre, because obviously it is the middle of the range, but it already comes down to, I think, the tyre wear as well, because as mentioned several times in the commentary as well, there is wear ranges for all 3 of these compounds. Obviously the wear ranges increased for these compounds ever since the tyres we had last season merged to make these 3 compounds, the red softs, the yellow mediums and the white hard tyres. But of course Rahul just passed the first sector there, which is obviously good. And that's that really. He makes his way through the chicane. I think we're probably going to see, maybe if we have seen a few crashes there in the past, haven't we, Rahul, at the start?
Yeah, we have. Like, it is a pretty difficult corner to go through cleanly, especially when there's a lot of cars. So, yeah, you would expect more chaos there in the race.
Especially at the start as well. Especially down here as well. We actually have seen some crashes down here at the start as well. Especially at turn 1 as well. Because obviously the track is quite narrow. It's obviously quite a fair. But as you can see, Patel did set the best time. But then McKenzie beats him by 500ths of a second there. Lopez now goes to the top by 0.2 of a second in the Mercedes. Campana slots himself to 4th. Roke into 5th. Obviously traffic's going to be a big thing around here in Monaco as well. Because of the fact that it's short and obviously quite narrow as well. So that may be one thing to keep an eye on in qualifying a little bit later today as well. We may end up there is a chance we could end up with a mixed-up grid if people can't seem to find their way through traffic as people set up lap times there. Campana up in 4th place at the moment in the Williams, so obviously for the midfield runners, because of the fact it is quite tricky to overtake here, a big chance for them to get some big points. As you just saw there, Fakuzin in 3rd, Chung now to the top of the timing sheets by nearly 2 tenths ahead of Lopez. Chung, of course, who won last time out in Spain, becoming the second new winner this season, of course, joining Franco Gama, those two getting their first wins this season. Will we, by some luck, have another new winner this season, maybe from a midfield team? I mean, obviously we mentioned with Monaco as well, it is a big chance for them to get some big points. Given how close De Rosa was to winning here last season, it could happen. It is a big chance for the midfield teams. Willows, as we just saw there, goes to the top now by 200ths of a second ahead of Chung, and everybody finishing off their laps there. Willows being the guy at the top after the first runs there, as we ride on board with Jared Fosby, who at long last got his first points of the season. You have to say, quite a good race for Jared Fosby last time out in Spain, Rahal.
Yeah, it was a good race from him. He consistently did well. From finishing 11th in Baku last time and to finishing 9th in Spain, pretty good progress from Forsberry. He's gotten grips to this car for him.
He has indeed, and of course he'll be looking to continue that momentum going into the season, because of course it hadn't been the best of starts to the season for him, but finally he got the points on the board, and it's lucky he actually finished the race in Spain, because after the race his car actually broke down on him, so very lucky indeed to grab those points in the end, considering that he had a failure after the race, of course, which forced him to pull off at the exit of turn 1 at the beginning of turn 2. Patel coming into the pits this lap. He currently finds himself in 6th behind Mackenzie, who so far having quite a good session, it must be said. I mean, as you can see, Mackenzie is actually behind Patel. It's not like Patel's stuck in traffic, so that looks like some good pace at the moment for Jay Mackenzie. Maybe that could be a factor later on in qualifying.
Yeah, indeed. As Tomaselli, I think Catalan moves up to 9th. He did improve on his lap time.
Yep, up into 9th. Indeed, obviously the start of the day from last time in Spain was, of course, Paulino Tomaselli. Another great performance for him in the McLaren. And given how well the McLaren is, and given that this is a big chance for the midfield teams to get some big points, providing they get the strategy right here, who knows? Maybe he could maybe sneak a win in that McLaren. Who knows, maybe here at Monaco. As mentioned, a big chance for the midfield teams to do well here, providing they get the strategy right. But so far, I think the last time we had a midfield team actually winning the OC, I think was back in 2009, I want to say. Because they've all been top teams since then. Teams that have been able to challenge at the front on a regular basis. 2009, I think, with Sam Thompson at Belgium. Unless anybody else has done so since, but I can't seem to recall. Unless you want to count the Ferrari from 2014 as a midfield team, but I don't really seem to count that because you know, they were still towards the front, even though they didn't have the best car that season. But anyway, we got the two Alfa Romeos close together with each other. Verderi, of course, obviously having a good season so far for Darius. I think he finds himself in 9th in the championship, although so far in this session the Alphas not seem to be doing a good job at the moment. Obviously this is only practice, of course. Most of these are probably doing race runs as we speak, but wasn't the best of races for Alfa Romeo last time out in Spain, especially for Verderi, who seemed to make quite a few mistakes.
Yeah, indeed. I do believe they can do better in Monaco. There is a chance that they can pick up good results.
Oh, maybe. Well, speaking of a test race, Felix. Well, speaking of that, obviously the test race that we did for this track, because anybody who's in Discord, you obviously get a sneak peek of the test race that Yuri likes to do. He actually did do a reverse grid in that race, and the Williamses were dominating that, it must be said, because of all the traffic. And, well, it did cause a little bit of a few crashes here and there, but none that were silly, really. There were more driver error, I guess. But, yeah. It is interesting to see, but unfortunately this is the OC. We have to be a little bit realistic, of course. We can't have reverse grids. I mean, obviously we're against reverse grids in real life, to be honest with you, in Formula 1. But that's that, really. But anyway, we're now right on board with Laura Chung, who last time out got her first ever victory in the top class. After many races, she failed to get a victory. And in fact, she's up on Josie Willows there in the first sector, so she could actually go back to the top if she keeps this one up. She hasn't got any traffic in front of her, so she could do. But at long last, she finally got her first win. Everybody so happy for her, it must be said, from what I gathered from the stream chat as well. And she'll be looking to see if she can continue that momentum as well. She obviously became the first legit female to win a top class race. Let's just get that clear. The first legit female, but if we're going to count Paige Knight and Sasha Banks in there, and she's the first female to win in, I think, 11 seasons, it must be said. Paige Knight winning in Hungary back in 2008. So she broke that duck, and she'll be looking to see if she can try and get herself in the championship fight now that she's probably got momentum on her side, as we ride on board with Gable Gomez, who makes his way through the Seafront chicane. I think it's got a couple of names, that chicane, that's to be fair. Through to back, and the reason why it's called to back, in fact, I found this out, is Chung does in fact go to the top by 0.5 of a second with a 1:11.559. But the reason why it's called to back, I think, is because there's actually a tobacco shop that's right next to the that corner, really. So yeah, bit of trivia for you there, for anybody who's a bit of an encyclopediac. So we now look at Gerard Fosbury, who's coming into the pits this lap. He has been holding up De Rosa for quite a bit during this session. I believe that is De Rosa. It is a yellow helmet, so I believe that is De Rosa. But unless De Rosa's coming back in on the next lap, he should finally get a clear run, because at the moment De Rosa, who was the star here last season, it must be said, currently down in 20th. But that race last season that De Rosa had, you could argue that may have been the race that saved his career, hence why he's still here in the top class.
Yeah, indeed. He had a great last season after that podium. So, been involved in too many crashes, been very unlucky within that season, so yeah.
It was a very good strategical race for McLaren, and I mentioned he came very close to the win, because when Amar Khan made his final pit stop here last season, De Rosa was not that far behind him. So had Khan may have been held up by a little bit more, or maybe De Rosa picked up the pace a little bit more, or Carr stayed out for an extra lap, who knows? We could have been talking about a De Rosa win last season here at Monaco, but it didn't happen, of course. But he did pick up his first ever podium in the top class. He has come close to another podium this season at Baku, but of course he did get a penalty for that, and on top of that as well, he did get overtaken by Roland Motrin and Miklos Gau towards the end of the race. But De Rosa, it must be said, he has picked up his game this season, although it has to be said that his teammate so far has outshone him this season, like a lot of people predicted he would. But De Rosa hasn't been too much of a pushover for Thomas Elliott, as he said. De Rosa has had a very good season, it must be said, so far. Currently finding himself, I think, is he in the top 10? I don't know if he's dropped back since, but yeah, overall, very good season for Kira, it must be said. Here is Davy Cupot we're looking at right now, who, it must be said, since Australia, hasn't really gone his own way so far this season.
Yeah, hasn't been his way so far. There is chance. There's still a long way to go. He can get more points. So yeah, you could see something in him, but we can't really tell that very early. We did tell it very early in qualifying in Australia. We can't tell it now.
Exactly. Of course, as mentioned, of course, this is a big chance for the midfield teams to pick up some points, providing they don't slam it into the wall. So, who knows, maybe Cuba could take advantage. De Rosa, meanwhile, thanks to the fact that he's now free of the traffic, has got up into 7th position. Gal, meanwhile, has gone up to 10th. I wonder if he got stuck in traffic a little bit earlier on. Well, so far he's being outpaced by his test driver teammate, Rahul Patel, at the moment, who himself has got some traffic in front, in the form of the McLaren of, I believe, I'm not sure what McLaren. But yeah, it might be Paulino, in fact, because he's got the pit symbol. De Rosa hasn't got the pit symbol next to his name, so I think that is Paulino. But Rahul is now free, so he'll be looking to see if he can improve on his time. He's not coming in, so let's see if he'll be able to improve on his 6th position. So far, second off of Laura Chung at the moment, but of course, this is just him to get some mileage in a top-class car, and obviously using this session to good effect. As we look at Matteo Catalan, who, on the other side of the Toro Rosso fence, as we were talking about...
we're looking at the wall!
First crash here in Monaco, and it is a former winner of Monaco. It is Joseph Willows. He smacked it into the wall at the exit of the swimming pool entrance, it must be said, at La Piscine. So the first crash of the day going to Joseph Willows, it must be said. And we just caught the goods of that. It looked like a little bit of oversteer there, Rahul.
Yeah, indeed. So much oversteer. And he nearly hit the other wall as well before he hit the wall that he hit. So yeah.
We're going to take a look at it from on board now. So he goes through the back. In fact, he was up on his personal best, you can see there in the middle. Not quite up on lower, but as you see, first part of it looked okay. It was just the second part of it, when he clipped the curb look, it just seemed like he just bounced him across the side there, and as a result, the wall over there, and there was nothing he could have done to try and correct that. As a result, smacked it into the wall, and he'll have to climb into the T-car if he wants to continue this session. But yeah, that's obviously going to compromise people's laps who were behind him, of course. And we're going to take another look at that from, I think, from another perspective. We're going to look at it from, I think we're going to look at it from this perspective, because this is where the wheel came off. So there it goes, look, and there it goes. There goes the wheel. Obviously, bounced off the curb and smacked it into there. Obviously, I am not feeling pain from that at all. I can assure you of that, but that's that, really. But, yeah, obviously, Monaco, as it's got a reputation for this, very, very unforgiving, even from experienced drivers like Joseph Willows, and of course a past winner in Joseph Willows as well. So easy to make a mistake here, it must be said, and Joseph, full proof of that as well.
Yeah.
As his car now gets towed over the barrier, and he'll be trying to run back to get into the T cars. We now look at Jay McKenzie, looking for him. The car won't be there, so it won't impede him too much, but I don't think he was improving on that. But Catalan is at the moment. Motrin, meanwhile, goes up to 9th in the racing point as Catalan makes his way through Raskas, isn't it? I keep forgetting that name for some reason. It's Laraskas or Raskas. Through Anthony Nodes he goes now then. Let's see if Catalan is able to improve on his lap. Across the line goes the Italian, and he goes up to 8th for that lap. So far, Catalan having quite a decent session, it must be said.
Yeah, impressive lap from Catalan. 8th place. Brilliant stuff as Gomez goes up to 13th. As Patel goes up to 2nd. Wow.
Patel splitting the two Ferraris there to go up to 2nd, so we did have a lot of time available to him there after being held up by McLaren for quite a bit. As we look at Lean Campana in the Williams, he's got his teammate in front of him, maybe using him for a tow on some of the straights there, but not too much of a tow, because if he gets caught up behind him, he's going to get held up on this track. As Campana makes his way through Raskas and then into Anthony Nodes. Down the hill he goes now then, heading towards the pit straight, and let's see if he can improve. I don't think he will, and no he doesn't. He remains at the moment in 14th position, so at the moment doing a good job is Campana in this session, and Sontag also doing decently as well in 17th position. We look at Catalan again now then, going through the chicane there as Motrin improves his time even further but stays in 10th position. So as Gal meanwhile goes up to 6th position, so now the top 6 have got Mercedes, Ferraris and Red Bulls in that group. Mackenzie pushed down to 7th position as Gal is able to get into that top 6 group. As Catalan now then makes his way down the straight and doesn't improve, remains in 9th position. Apologies if you just heard my dog just a little bit earlier in the background. That's just the unfortunate thing when you've got 2 dogs living in your house. But anyway, as Campana makes his way through the seafront chicane, and also known as the Nouvelle chicane. I think Nouvelle is actually translated as seafront from memory, unless I'm being an idiot there. Federi goes up to 12th there in the Alfa Romeo, so slightly improves, gets in front of Paolino Tomaselli at this point in time. So at the moment, this is what the leaderboard currently looks like as Fosbury goes up to 20th. Chong at the top with Patel in 2nd, Willows in 3rd, Lopez 4th, Fakrazane in 5th with Gal in 6th, Mackenzie in 7th, De Rosa in 8th, Catalan in 9th, Byrne in 10th, Motrin in 11th with Federi in 12th, Tomaselli in 13th, Gomez in 14th, Campana 15th, Kupok 16th, Roke 17th, Sontag in 18th, Martinez in 19th, Fosbury 20th, Chatfield in 21st and Titkoff in 22nd and last. Tomaselli, who's now not got any traffic around him, he's currently up on his personal best, has won the racing points there, got out in front of Martinez there. I believe that was George Rowe because it looked like the 99 on the car, but huge traffic jam going up the hill here.
Yeah, that was a World Cup Master Ferrari of Laura Chung as well. Tomaselli still improving in the middle sector.
He now makes his way through Lapazine, where Joseph Willows just crashed a few moments ago through the right and left hander. Joseph Willows meanwhile has got back out onto the track. He's actually got out into the T car, hence why the pit symbol has not come up on his name there. So Tomaselli now then makes his way towards the final corner. Anthony Nodes, down the hill he goes now then. Let's see what Paolino Tomaselli can do, and the Italian crosses the line and he only goes up to 11th that time. As Kupok meanwhile goes up to 9th, so 9th and 10th at the moment for the Toro Rossos in this session. As we now look at Rosetta Martinez who's holding up Laura Chong. Looks like Evan Byrne as well, and if he's not careful, one of the Mercedes. The Mercedes, meanwhile, does have the Niki Lauda tribute on the halo as well, and I have been assured by Yuri as well that the German GP Mercedes livery is also on this mod. So, Lopez and Carr will probably be hoping that real-life German GP doesn't happen to them when we get to Hockenheim. But anyway, Martinez crosses the line, no improvement for him. And that's that, really, as we look back at Tomaselli as he makes his way down through the seafront chicane and just getting a few runs, as well as meanwhile improves but remains in 3rd position, not able to make it a Ferrari 1-2 so far in the session. Of course, Ferrari did take pole position here last season, courtesy of Armar Carr, And Armar will be desperate to try and make it 2 Monaco GP victories in a row. Obviously, there's 3 guys here, all former Monaco Grand Prix winners, Miklos Gal, Joseph Willows, and of course Armar. Both of them looking to try and get a second Monaco Grand Prix victory this season if they can. And Armar looking to become the 3rd back-to-back Monaco GP winner, to go along with Florian Volker and Will Neller. He'll be looking to join that list if he can. Of course, Florian Volker and Will Neller being the only 3-time winners of this street circuit. Florian Volker winning here, of course, in 2009, 2013 and 2014, and Will Neller winning here in 2010, 2016 and 2017. Of course, they can't obviously get a 4th victory because those 2 are racing in DTM, of course, both of them retiring from the top class. Both of them ironically driving for the same team in DTM. But anyway, meanwhile, Roke goes up to 5th in the racing point, so breaking that threshold between the Ferraris, Mercedes and Red Bulls there, he gets up into a 5th, so a good time there from George.
Yeah, good time. 10 thousandths off on Lopez, so yeah, pretty decent lap. Willow stays 3rd, still.
Still able to improve though, the gap now only 2 tenths between himself and teammate Laura Chung, as Paulino makes his way through La Piscine, and going out the swim pool exit there before heading towards Rascasse. Obviously the tighter version of Rascasse, because it's got this near 90-degree left-hander in it, where a lot of drivers in the past used to make quite a few mistakes in there. Marc Genet in 2000 in real life, kind of making a bit of a roadblock through into there. Alex Young, making a mistake there in the past, and I'm pretty sure Yuri doesn't want me to mention it, but I know that Kimi Räikkönen actually crashed there in 2002 as well during a practice session. It was quite a tricky corner back then, that old Rascasse. Of course, we don't have that Rascasse anymore. Patel now goes to the top of the timing sheets in the Red Bull by 400ths of a second ahead of Chung, so the test driver going to the top at the moment. So far, none of the test drivers have topped the session so far. Could Patel be the first this season? That is the question, as Tomaselli now then getting stuck behind the Williams of Felix Sontag, it looks like. Which will not please him at all. But anyway, Paulino's coming in anyway, so it won't bother him too much anyway. So, you know, it's the way down towards the chicane. We've got just under 6.5 minutes to go in this practice session. And as Mackenzie, meanwhile, goes up to 4th in the Renault. So he's able to find a little bit more time in the Renault so far in this practice session. As everybody makes their way through La Piscine. Obviously, this is obviously going to be a big thing during the race, traffic as well, hence why it's more of a strategic race rather than an actual overtake race. You might need to be a little bit brave if you want to go for overtakes, like we've seen in Formula E in the past when they've used this version of the track. Obviously, they use what they claim is the 2004 version on the on Grand Prix 4, but I can assure you it's not the 2004 version. It's just got 2004 sponsorship plastered around it, and I only use that mod really because Formula E drivers seem to prefer that one when it comes to the pit lane. But there we are. As anyway, Fosbury up the hill he goes. Speaking of Formula E, of course, obviously the vacant Porsche seat gets announced tomorrow at 12 p.m. BST. It'll be announced on Twitter by the way. I didn't make that one particularly clear, but it will be announced on Twitter who the replacement driver is for Panos Sakouras. So be aware of that tomorrow at 12 p.m. BST, 5 hours before the Monaco Grand Prix gets underway. As we look now at Lean Campana, who probably was a little bit unlucky not to get points last time out in Spain, Rahal.
Yeah. Pretty unlucky that he didn't get points, but still, there is a long way to go. There is a chance they can get points. You saw Felix did get points. He could have got more, Felix Sontag, but yeah, it could happen here. And also, strategy is going to be important in this race as well.
And if Williams capitalise on that one perfectly, then they could end up getting some good points out of this race. As Martinez still holding up Laura Chung at this point in time. So Laura probably a little bit frustrated that she can't seem to improve on her time at the moment because of Martinez in front and preventing her from possibly trying to see if she can get back to the top and knock Patel off the top. So that's that really. But Martinez is still going to be roaming around on this lap because he's still on the lap. Whether he'll be pitting next lap is a bit of a question. Campana crossing the line meanwhile. I don't think he's going to improve, and no he doesn't. He remains in 17th position and he makes his way through into turn 1 there then, a name which keeps escaping me. I should know all the corner names in Monaco because they all are famous, but I keep forgetting the turn 1 name for some reason. Somebody tell me in the stream chat. But anyway, before I get stumped in qualifying about that for 2 hours. So thank you, Felix. Sandoval, that's the one. Sandoval, that's what it's called. As through in towards I need to get the corner. I know the corner name is there off the tip of my tongue through that one before the tunnel, but it's just it keeps escaping me for some reason. I think it is named. Oh, it's Portier. That's the one. Portier. There you go. Got there in the end. As Martinez comes out of Portier, speaking of which, to go into the tunnel, of course. And unlike in real life, which was a bit of a problem on this version of the track when it came to onboard cameras, obviously the onboard cameras work on this game, so no problems there. Like in real life as well, because back then the technology when it came to the tunnel didn't really work that well, it must be said. I mean, it worked in bits if you had the F1, if you had F1 Digital Plus, but since then it just didn't really seem to work that well. But that's a bit of stuff for you. Hence why when you look at all the classic laps from Monaco, you always notice that they always seem to cut away from the tunnel because the feed didn't usually work that well in the tunnel for the onboard cameras. But anyway, Martinez now then down the pit straight, and he's going to be pitting this lap. Is Chung? I'm not 100% sure, but Chung will be hoping. Well, if Chung is actually doing another lap, she'll be hoping that lap will try and get her back to the top, unless she's pitting this lap. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, Martinez through the casino area he goes, as he'll now make his way down towards Mirabeau. See, in 2005 in real life, there was a bit of a pile-up down there that was caused by Christian Albers, it must be said. And possibly cost David Coulthard a chance of a podium that day, it must be said. But anyway, as Martinez goes into the tunnel, around the right hand he goes, and he his way down towards the seafront chicane. And of course, Martinez, this is probably, I don't think he'll be coming back anymore after this, because we've only got 2 minutes remaining in this practice session, which currently has Patel, the Red Bull test driver, at the top. As Tomaselli, meanwhile, breaks into the top 10 to go into 9, so he actually gets in front of De Rosa as we just get into the closing stages of this practice session, as he makes his way in towards Raskas, and you'll see him pull to the right of the pit lane. And obviously, because of that, Raskas, obviously we don't have these pit entrance problems that we used to have when we were at the current. When we were at I'd say the up-to-date version of Monaco. It doesn't have the current swimming pool exit chicane that it has, where people like to smack into the wall during qualifying because they're pushing very hard. Of course, Chung is obviously pitting this lap, so she'll be frustrated that she wasn't able to get a clean lap in before the end of the session. And Willows is also coming in as well, so both Ferraris are coming into the pits this lap. Lopez just completed that there. Burn on and improving. Let's see if he can keep that up. And he goes up to 9th. So Burn up into the top 10 there towards the end of the session. So we're now going to be right on board for the remainder of the session to see who's going to be the last to cross the line. As Sontag goes into the pits, his session is completed. As Q-Park goes out of Anthony Nodes now, then makes his way down the straight. And he'll have one more lap, and he doesn't improve. Patel coming into the pits this lap, but at the moment it looks like he's going to be topping the session. Tomaselli now then going around Anthony Nodes. And he'll have one more lap unless he's got the pit symbol coming his way. Across the line will come the Italian, and he doesn't improve. One more lap for him. This is fellow compatriot Andre Videri. Across the line he will go, and no improvement for him. Fakhrizane doesn't improve. That's the first time I think we've seen him today, it must be said. George Rote, no improvement. Same with Mikol Oskal. Titkov through Anthony Nodes, he'll go. And he will now come across the line. And no improvement for the Russian. As Motrin will just have enough time to do one flying lap, as he'll find himself in 14th position. He'll have a clear run to see if he can try and break into the top 10. Chatfield doesn't improve on that lap. Here comes Kirishima De Rosa with just over 10 seconds to go in this practice session, and the pole does not improve. As here is Lopez. He might get one more lap in. Let's see, as he will soon come across the line. And he is actually pitting this lap. Let's see, can Byrne just make it before the checkered flag? And no, he can't. So Lopez was the last one to cross the line, but Lopez is pitting this lap anyway. As Catalan, meanwhile, crosses the line. No improvement for him, as those guys are going back in. That was Kupok and Patel. Fosbury on an improvement on his final lap. Let's see if he can keep it up. He is currently in 20th. He'll be looking to get out of the near last place echelon. Out of Anthony Nodes he goes. And Fosbury now then coming across the line. Let's see if where he'll go. And he goes up to 12th. A good time for Fosbury there. Tomaselli doesn't improve, remains in 10th position. Here comes Andre Videri heading down the pit straight. And the Italian crosses the line. No improvement for him either. Miklos Gal, can he improve in the Red Bull? And no, he can't. He remains in 8th position. Here is Maxim Titkov. Out of Anthony Nodes he goes. Heading down the pit straight. And let's see if he can find some miracle in the last sector. I don't think he will, and no, he remains in last. Here comes Rylan Motrin. He's not improving on his 15th at the moment. And Note remains where he is. Here comes Jay McKenzie. Out of Antonino's he goes. And here comes the pole. Across the line he will go. And no improvement for him. De Rosa, no improvement either. And Lopez is in. And there you have it then. That is the end of practice. Because Lopez was, of course, last person to cross the line. So it's Rahul Patel at the top with Laura Chung in second. And Joseph Wallows in third position. So what did you make of that practice session, Rahul?
Yeah, pretty interesting practice session as well, to be fair, actually. So, yeah, with Patel top in the table as a test drivers and Miklascal behind, but the Ferraris are there. So you could see that the Ferraris could be the favorites, but it could all change still.
Yep, indeed. And so, anyway, obviously that is practice done. Obviously, we're going to take a little pause, so please stick with us because qualifying is coming up. Of course, Yuri has to put Carr and Garma back into the Red Bulls and Mercedeses. So obviously we'll be off air for a bit. We'll be starting off a fresh stream for the qualifying session. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, I'll be JW97. He's been Rahul, and we'll see you in a little bit for qualifying. See you in a bit.